Alright, what is up, everyone? I'm Role Model here with Format Library's YouTube channel to interview our FLC champion, Moxies. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Hello, everyone.
Sick, sick. Alright, and what did you top with?
Chaos Warriors.
Wow. So this is like a pet deck close to my heart, and I was really happy to see this top. But what inspired you to play this deck?
Honestly, I just think it's just a good deck. You don't really need to like worry about playing all these types of other decks that are a lot more thought heavy process. Not saying this deck isn't thought heavy process, but it's a lot more like different variables for different things. Versus Warriors can be a little bit more direct line play style. And I kind of when I started playing goats really hard, it just kind of just seemed easy to start with that and go from there. And I ended up not branching off to other things just because this deck ended up just being nuts. So
Yeah, like I saw your tournament performance and it was indeed nuts. Like it's just crazy, crazy explosive. Interestingly enough, my one top is also with an aggro list, so I can attest to how like fun it is to play in the event and how it's your matches are very quick. And that's like good for a long event if you want to do well. So another thing I wanted to ask you about is why are there 17 monsters in this list when most lists try to like cut down, and also because you effectively have two more monsters in the form of Rhoda. Um, can you like describe your thought process in deck building that way?
yeah, I actually didn't want to play 17. Not really. But when I was doing deck testing, and I did a lot of deck testing prior to all these events, um, and at the end of the day, I just liked the monster count as it was. When I tried going down to 16 and cutting something for another backrow card or spell card, it just wasn't quite as good, and I just liked where I was at, so I ended up sticking with it. I still would prefer to move that 17 to 16. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
even follow what Lucas did with the 3v3 winning list, where he cut one Skill Dark Magician for a Dust Tornado. That's something I might play around with. But yeah, I was winning so much with the list I had, and I didn't like it when I had less monsters, so I just decided I'm just going to play it like it is.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I also did a bunch of some statistical analysis on like how likely it was to open a 5 or 6 monster hand, and it's not very high. So for those of you looking at 17 monsters and worried about like bricking on a lot of your cards, that percentage chance is a little bit under 4%. So you,
Oh, that's good math.
yeah.
It's surprisingly after the GFC Obelisk Academy event, the FLC, and the GFC 3v3, I only opened 6 monsters once, which is when I played Game 3 against Lucas Gustafson, aka Viking Goats YouTube. When I
Hmm.
played him in the 3v3, Game 3 ended up opening that. But out of 4 events, I didn't. It only happened once, so that's pretty good.
All right, awesome. Yeah. All right, so now I'm gonna ask you kind of like what were your matchups like during the tournament, and you can just be as brief or as detailed as you want, but mostly we want to see like what was the spread exactly and how was your tournament run.
Specifically for the FLC, it was actually very varied. I played a Go Control deck that was
Hmm.
trying to play some brain control kind of style to kind of get its pluses.
Cute. Yeah.
Um, and then I played uh, a turbo player, so just a standard turbo match. Um, then I played a weird gentleman who was using Emissary of the Afterlife Sonic Duck deck, which that might have been actually my hardest game just because it surprisingly floated really well against Warriors, and I was having a hard time keeping up pace with it because every time I did something, he would just have another card.
Yeah, I covered that deck in the
Um,
tournament and it was fun to watch. Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of annoying. And then I played Carl Waite, who's a GFC champion, one of the better players in Go format.
Hmm.
And he was playing a mix of Turbo and Chaos Control. That was a really hard game.
Mm.
Props to him. It was a great deck list by him. And then I played in a burn deck, which surprisingly was a lot easier of a match than I thought it was going to be because I didn't bring very much side deck hate for burn. I just wasn't
Right.
expecting burn. I only brought really like just my normal dust tornadoes and cliff, and ended up
Mm-hmm.
winning that matchup pretty easily. And then I played in the finals. I played Petran, who is a FLC champ and a GFC champ,
Mm-hmm.
and played. He was playing turbo gear to handle warriors, and it didn't handle warriors.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really fitting that like Petren was almost the final boss of this event. Um,
Yeah.
all right, cool. So what I wanted to ask you is, if you could have played against one deck all day, like what would you want to see on the other side of the table, like all the time? Like what matchup are you designed to beat, basically?
I want to play Chaos Turbo every single time. I actually did some statistical look myself into all my major tournaments over the
Mm-hmm.
past 2 months with this deck, and I've only lost once out of 7 times to Turbo. I've beat every single tournament Turbo player I've played, including like really good players like Carl and Petran and Killa 93 in the first UFC, who
Wow.
has an obelisk invite. So just like I've never had trouble with this variant to ever be Turbo. So I would prefer to play Turbo every single time.
Awesome. Yeah, okay. Cool. So another thing I wanted to get into was the skilled dark magicians and tribe, which we don't normally see at least main decked in warriors. So what are you trying to do with these main deck cards? Like what are you hedging for?
I think Tribe is becoming a lot more popular in Warriors. Like I
Mm-hmm.
know it used to be a side decked card you would bring in.
Exactly.
Most Warrior players have kind of brought it in now all the like as a main deck card just because Spy is such an annoying card to play against, and it makes you have to think harder on what you want to do because you can't just ram into face down cards with Blade Knight if you don't have like an answer to him. So just having another card that you can just summon and get rid of spies, especially in the meta we're at now where Kaiko is so played. He's a spellcaster, Magician to Face is a spellcaster, Breaker's a spellcaster. So a lot of these cards all die to tribe, and Skill Dark Magician specifically too. A lot of players will bring him in against aggro, and he's a spellcaster
Mm.
dies. So there's a lot of cards that you can just get a lot of value off of tribe. And then Skill Dark Magician, 1900 attack is just it's just really good.
Yeah.
He's a dark. I mean that matters too. It's not like the main reason I bring him in.
Mm-hmm.
1900 attack is just really good. It beats over pretty much everything you're gonna play in the main deck. It beats over Kaiku, which is a big thing. It can't
Mm-hmm.
beat Tizu, which is a really big thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's just a power card that people have troubles dealing with. And in the mirror match, the only card that can get over him is a Blade Knight that's pumped up to 2K. So
Right.
he's just strong.
Yeah.
Sometimes a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players think that their cards necessarily need to need to do things like their monsters have to have an effect that do something. But at the end of the day, if Skill Dark Magician is just attacking a monster and killing it, then it's getting its plus that way instead of an effect. So
Mm-hmm.
I really like Skill Dark Magician, and I feel like I'm one of the few players right now who are or Warrior players who are actually playing it. A lot of Warrior players aren't playing Skill Dark Magician.
Yeah, I rarely see him in the main deck at least. Sometimes I see him as like a side option for the mirror, but never like just thrown in the main deck ready to go. It is of note also that the counter effect of Skill Dark Magician can actually be used to tribute itself and fail to find a Dark Magician in your deck, and then you could use that to summon a Chaos. So that's kind of like sometimes relevant. This
I
happened in
mean,
your tournament
yeah,
run, right?
it did. When I was playing Paldo in Winners Finals, he was on Burn and he Nightmare wheeled my Skill Dark Magician, and I didn't want it to keep taking the burn damage for it every turn, so I actually tributed him for nothing just so I could stop taking burn damage. And my life points were pretty low. It wouldn't have like killed me right then and there, but it definitely was putting me on a clock I didn't like. So it ended
Mm-hmm.
up being pretty important that I was able to get out of that.
Yeah. Okay, cool, awesome. And so your ov can you like speak to your overall record? And you can also like bleed into like other events. So like, what are you with this deck? Do you have like a number?
Yes.
Okay.
One sec. It was the FLC. I went 5-0.
Mm-hmm.
The GFC before the 3v3, I went 7-2, I think, 6-2, 7-2.
Mm,
Obelisk, the Obelisk Academy event, I went 4-2. I lost
mm,
back-to-back games to Juve on a Warrior list, and
mm-hmm.
then the 3v3 GFC, I was 5-3.
Wow.
So I mean, and overall, it's been pretty good. I've had a really good run over the last 2 months with this deck specifically. I have no complaints.
Yeah, like that win rate is honestly impressive. I don't think other people can say that with Warriors they have a overall very high positive win rate. Okay, the last thing I wanted to ask you about, I know you mentioned it a little bit, but can you just like speak to why you put Cliff in the side deck and like what the theory is for that card?
Okay, so really wanted to play 3 Dust Tornadoes like really badly because I think it's just a good card that a lot of people have been overlooking lately. And also, I was kind of expecting Turbo players. I got the picture before the tournament that Turbo players were going to start sliding into a more back row heavy deck. So I wanted to be able to combat that in my side with having Dust Tornadoes. So because of that, I didn't have the slots that I normally have to play double Des Wombat, which is what I normally use to combat burn players.
Mm,
I only had one slot available that I had. So in theory, Cliff is just a searchable rota target, so he kind of is pretty easily accessible. So he filled a nice niche in that one spot, and he's just really good against burn. Most burn decks aren't really built to have a lot of battle trap kind of kind of like cards. They're more just like stall cards and don't let you attack cards, and him being 1200 attack and him being level 3 just gets underneath all that. Plus he's just a
yeah.
dark, so he fills the same role as Don Zalug, except just better against burn decks. So he was good. I never actually got to use him against burn. I did bring him in, but I never got to like use it. But
Mm.
in theory he's just really really good, really strong.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. I think that's all my questions for you. Do you have any shoutouts that you want to like talk to people?
I have a couple things.
Okay.
One, LaBounty will want me to say something, but LaBounty was actually the player that got me um, on Sork and like Skill Dark Magician in the beginning. A lot of like he played when he won his Obelisk event. He was playing those. His deck I don't think is as good as mine, but he's the one who really pushed me to playing the Chaos Warrior variant. Also, he didn't play Book of Moons, so I want to give a lot of respect to LeBounty because those are all things that become staples now. Like Book of Moon in this meta at the moment just doesn't seem necessary, and I feel like it's starting to catch on a lot more now that I've won. But it originated with me going off of LeBounty.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I have specific shoutouts to FDS and Mark Barrison the Bold. They're my teammates for the 3v3.
Mm-hmm.
They're both all around great guys. I had a great time talking to them when we were doing our 3v3, and we spent a lot of time testing against the two of them. And it was actually really good testing because they both play Chaos Control, and that is my weakest matchup just because I don't play anything for it. I really
Right.
just pretend it's not there when I go to tournaments. So they were really hard matchups. So that was good. And then I also had a lot of discussion with James Ark, Lucas Gustafson, Tenply, and AJ. I
Mm-hmm.
spent a lot of time talking to them and discussing what works and what doesn't work and what to do and what not to do. So yeah, those guys are great too.
Awesome. All right, cool, man. Well, this has been Role Model talking to Moxies, the FLC champion, about his deck. I guess I'm signing off, people. Thank you for watching. Peace.